Allow me to narrate you a story. A story of a young warrior who was well-liked and respected across the town. He was a superb fighter who was strong, coordinated, clever, and charming. He was in the prime of his life, feeling like he could face any challenge that life threw at him. His self-assurance was evident, and his physique stood tall, with broad shoulders shaped by hours of hard sword training each day. One day, he was walking home. As he walked by, girls waved at him. He gently waved back and continued on his way home. When he arrived home, he settled in and began sharpening his blades for the next day. To his surprise, a spirit emerged out of nowhere in his room, calling his name. The young guy kept his composure, only to discover that the ghost had no ill will toward him. It had an expressionless face and was neither masculine nor female. The ghost informed the young guy that it was the spirit of seeing and that it could show him everything he imagined or desired. The young man was perplexed by its intentions and kept a close eye on it as it drifted around in his room. Curious about his claim, the young man asked the spirit to show him the stables on the other side of the river. To his amazement, the ghost exhaled a cloud of smoke, and the stables could be seen plainly inside the haze. This oddity lingered in front of his eyes for a few moments before dissipating. The young man was stunned, but there was something more going on in his thoughts. With a sneer on his face, he asked the ghost to show him the most beautiful female in the world. The spirit, with an expressionless face, blew another puff of smoke to reveal the most gorgeous female he had ever seen. She stood tall, one hand neatly placed on the hips of her gorgeous hourglass figure. Her beautiful dark hair was elegantly draped across her lovely head. Her big brown eyes pierced his heart. The young man couldn't keep his gaze away from her, staring at every inch of her body. Returning to reality, he calmed himself after that obviously uncomfortable moment. The ghost, to his amazement, was untouched by the entire scenario. It stood in the corner of his room, impassive. He had another brilliant idea. He requested the ghost to reveal him the greatest warrior who had ever walked the earth's surface. And, as predicted, the spirit depicted a warrior to whom every young man aspired. He was ideal, standing tall with a toned and powerful frame. The young man was taken aback and stood in wonder. After some time, he realized he had seen enough. He asked the spirit to depart and return to honing his swords. The ghost remained and informed him that he would return to show him more of what he wished whenever he asked. If anything, the young guy was happy and allowed the spirit to stay. The young guy grew accustomed to the spirit in his room over time. He started asking it for more than just the greatest. He wanted to know what the weather was going to be like, what his friends were doing, and even sights of nude gorgeous ladies performing physical acts. Throughout this period, the spirit never denied showing anything, and everything he sought was only a few words away. Weeks progressed into months as time passed. He began to neglect his training in order to spend countless hours at home watching the spirit, which was considerably more addicting and fascinating than sword training. The females in the village called out to him, but he did not answer. All he wanted to do was go home and watch grander things, like vast armies being led into war. He applauded and longed to be the commander who would command his own army. He was so engrossed that he memorized and quoted every sentence spoken by his favorite heroes. Instead of focusing on improving, he began to act like his idols throughout his workouts. After a year, the girls stopped paying attention to him. They were more interested in the other men at the archery range. The young guy loathed them, claiming that true warriors did not attack from afar. His workouts were now only a few minutes long, and on days he would miss them entirely. He became less interested in sustaining his ties with the village residents, preferring to rush home to fulfill his cravings. He began to utilize the spirit to see numerous women conducting various sensuous activities on one another, and he lusted after more than just one lady. His respect for his favorite hero had evolved to envy as he watched the hero win endless battles and vanquish many powerful opponents. As a result, He was unable to run for long periods of time. His sword abilities had swiftly deteriorated, and his reflexes were simply not what they previously were. He sat alone in his room on the night of his 30th birthday, with no one to accompany him. He was miserable and felt more useless than he had ever felt. As the clock hit 12, the ghost burst out laughing. The guy was taken aback since the ghost had never shown any emotion, much alone laughter, in all these years. He glanced at the spirit, who returned his gaze. After 10 hard years, the ghost spoke, announcing that its job here was over. The man was perplexed and inquired as to what was going on. The spirit showed itself to be the ultimate manifestation of evil, the source of all evil in this world. The man was afraid as the devil told that a powerful monster will strike this town tonight. A prophecy had predicted that this guy would be the one to destroy the demon, and the devil couldn't let that happen, so it employed the slow poison of presenting him infinite fantasy to divert him from his goal. He has little hope of defeating the demon now that he is weak. The arrogant demon claimed ownership of the town and its inhabitants' spirits. He couldn't do anything since severe emotional sorrow had settled in his head instead of just requesting to see those gorgeous females again. With a big grin on his face, the devil accepted. If you liked the video, be sure to hit subscribe and take a look at the other videos on the channel. Why not like the video too? It will greatly help the channel.